I talked to him a little bit about my own career path and how I got involved in environmental and natural resources issues, and just thinking that that might provide some insights for what they want to choose to do career-wise. I wanted to encourage them to continue on in this field. We need strong leaders and who can deal with environmental and natural resources and conservation issues. And then I talked a little bit about the specifics of the Bureau of Reclamation, the impacts of climate change, which I knew was a theme today, and how we're applying tools to deal with those issues.
Living in Hawaii, we do a lot of things that are conservation efforts and things like that, and it was cool to see how they're doing that as well with their Young Explorers program. So that's what I was really interested in. And then they also had a speaker come in and talk about climate change and how that's affecting our world.
I want to go into conservation. That's my passion. Animals are my absolute passion, but I want to do it with engineering. So to hear about the engineering specifically of the critter cameras they were talking about and the engineers that got to work with animals to do that, that was awesome for me because I wasn't sure I'd get to work with animals and be an engineer, but I knew I wanted to try. So I got to talk to him separately after it was done and talk to him about it, so that was really interesting.
My favorite part was probably the girl describing her New Orleans expedition because it was actually her neighborhood that she was working with, and she was working to restore the neighborhood that her grandparents and her dad grew up in that had been destroyed by Hurricane Katrina, and even though that was about 8 years ago, it's still pretty much in ruins, some things. And so it was really interesting having her talk about that, and it was inspiring because she was working in her neighborhood instead of somewhere so far away.
What we really focused on is how you can go into conservation and how it's a solid career choice, and that the ways you can get into it, and to hear these different ways that people got into conservation and the different ways that if you're an engineer, for example, you can go and make the cameras. If you're in a biology major, you can go and study these animals. If you go into a chemistry major, you can go and because the second speaker, the chemical engineer, I'm thinking of going to that too. So you can also go into that and you can make green products for cleaning companies. And throughout the whole week, we've just been learning all the different ways that you can go into conservation. You don't have to necessarily be a vet or be a zoologist. Those aren't the only ways to go into conservation, and you can make your career any way possible.
I'm very jealous about their opportunities that they've had. It looks like a great agenda. What a terrific program. Between the on-the-ground, hands-on experience that I see that they've gotten in some areas and at the zoo and other tours, as well as the access to folks on Capitol Hill. I think that's got to be very illuminating. And then sessions like this and the hands-on, I think, problem-solving exercises that are part of the summit. So that plus the interaction amongst leaders from different areas of the country, I think is just invaluable to them. And hopefully it'll just be a great motivating factor as they proceed on to finish high school and go to college.